Welcome to the Old Man Orange podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan. I got a question. How was your Thanksgiving, or as I call it, Turkey Holocaust Day?
It is kind of like a turkey holocaust when you really think about it. Picture that it's not every person, but every family of give or take 4 to 5 people has a giant turkey in their house that has been slaughtered, only weeks before.
Yeah.
And they're all kind of living in camps, and they were shipped over on the trains and everything, too.
It's kind of the same thing. I mean, mine was pretty simple. We didn't have a whole bunch of family over. It was just kind of like basic people in the area, and then a regular that comes into my work a lot. But beyond that, though, it was just, very simple Thanksgiving. It wasn't the 20, 30-something people there. Kids running around screaming. Wasn't that, thankfully.
Yeah, I've never had that big of a Thanksgiving ever, but I never like big events anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's just really where it ends that at.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, ours was nice and simple.
Well, it should be, yeah.
But I do think, I think about that every single time. I'm like, I know it's tradition, but do we really need to have that many turkeys killed in one day? Can we split it up a bit?
Mix it up, just have like,
Some chicken,
Mexican food,
ham,
Thanksgiving or something, or Italian food maybe.
Bacon, some...
That'd be like, pizza holocaust
fish,
for a day.
yeah.
Pizza, seafood holocaust, I don't know.
Something.
You just give the turkeys a break. Turkeys get it annually.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of another Holocaust, though, do you ever, when you first turn your heater on?
The other Holocaust, okay.
No, on to other Holocaust. When you get when you turn the heater on for the first time and you kind of hear that crackling and popping and there's that sort of like burnt smell coming up?
We have that right now, yeah, I was just thinking about that.
What you were mentioning earlier is like, what do you think about those like bugs' lives? They start this civilization inside the heater and everything's going great until one day they hear that click, 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 click.
What's that, honey? Yeah.
Well, it's starting to get hot in here. What's going on?
Woo! Yeah, no, it's one of those things I bet it's kind of like, because when you think about it, you probably don't use your heater for about 8 months out of the year, maybe.
If that, probably even more. Like, I always think about it as like, because I wait till it gets like really cold. And personally, me, like, I still wouldn't have turned it on too much.
So you probably have this whole, like, society of, like, bugs that kind of restart every year. They're just starting to build up, some bug. By that, they move, they age quicker because they're bugs. So, you probably always happens during a wedding, too. They're probably like, do you take, but, all of a sudden, like, dude, do you smell that? And all of a sudden this giant, like, wave of heat just comes, and it's like the nightmare sequence in Terminator 2 when Sarah Connor explodes,
Yeah, there's one guy who's just late to the wedding, and he's, like, holding on the end of the heater, like, looking in. No! No! And he just gets burned.
Happy Thanksgiving, folks.
The dual Holocaust.
Mm-hmm. And then there's,
Then there's the third Holocaust, which
Black
is
Friday.
Oh, yeah, there's that, too. Which it's always kind of like one of those ones, like, I never really, 10 years ago, you would go out to Black Friday, and it was kind of cool, because, like, these stores open at 6 in the morning, but there wasn't really that many people yet. That was at the point where it's like, instead of a store having, 5 people, it now has 10. Well, but you didn't have to wait in line, really, and it wasn't that big of a deal. And now, recently, it's become such a huge thing, but you think about it, it's like, the deals are never that good, and the stuff that they always, like, give you, it's kind of like, well, this is kind of the crap anyways, like...
I mean, I've gone out on Black Friday, but never, like, get the Black Friday sales. Like, you know what, I want to get X-Men First Class. I don't have that movie yet. Just go out and buy it, But I never go out for, like, the huge stuff, you know what I mean? Those big, and, like, it's coincidental if I go out on Black Friday, not because it's Black Friday.
Yeah, it just happens something else. Well, think about it, like, you look at the TVs that they sell, and it's like, it's never the good TVs that are on sale. It's always just cheap-ass TV anyways. Like, why the fuck would I spend that money on there anyway? If I'm gonna get something, it's like, you never see Panasonic have a TV on sale.
Yeah. And then on top of that, there's always those sad statistics. In, like, every town, somebody dies on a Black Friday.
Yeah, somebody gets robbed, somebody gets, like, beaten, somebody gets trampled.
An old lady always gets ran over by, like, a stampede of, like, shopping carts somewhere. And... it's one of those things I was just thinking, I mean, like I said, I don't really go out shopping on Black Friday, but if I do go out on Black Friday, it's not like to get the sale. It's like, I want to get this thing. This thing that's pretty obtainable already. Because I never really go shopping for like, I gotta get the PlayStation 4 or the Wii U.
Well, it's just like a lot of those deals, too, as I said, it's just like, it's not that big of a savings. It's like, I have to wait in line for 3 hours just to save $20.
Yeah.
It's like... in 3 hours, you could make way more money working.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, I was thinking, like, how those start. And it's kind of like one of those things you hear about, like people get into a fist fight over this shit. Like I can imagine kind of like. Then I thought about it, I'm like, I could see it happening easy from one party. Like, say I'm buying a DVD, something that's pretty obtainable, nothing like too hard to find. I'm buying a DVD, some fucker runs up to you, tries to grab it out of your hand. Naturally, I think your first reaction is to push the guy away or something. So, from one part of it...
I think when it gets down to it, you think about it like, say if... Okay, let's take this... Let's put it
I'm not defending Black Friday by any
completely
means,
different
but...
perspective. Say you're walking down the street,
Uh-huh.
and you're holding out your phone, and some guy comes by and just grabs it. You're like, what's your first reaction?
To punch something.
Yeah, so you can kind of see that same thing happens there, too, where you're like, you're holding something. If there's this primal instinct that if somebody's trying to steal something from you, you must fight.
Yeah.
And even if, like, in the long run, you go like, boy, that was a dumb idea to punch the guy. It's kind of like, it's in the moment. It just happens.
Now, that's never happened. I'm just saying, though. I was kind of thinking how that could happen.
I think there's always those one people, too, that their life revolves around, like, I'm waiting for that brawl. I'm waiting for that day
Here's the
that
day.
I can fucking unleash. All I need is that I can't just go out and just punch people randomly. I gotta have a reason.
There's one guy doing that, like, there's two different guys doing that Rocky IV montage, just cutting back and forth, like, before Black Friday, like, this is the day, it's gonna happen.
They just get prepared.
One's, like, running in, like, some Russian lab, the other's,
like, just, like, running in, like, the wilderness.
The snow. But no, I haven't really. I played it safe today. I was just kind of like, we won't say what because we want it to be kind of a surprise, but we're working on a new project right now. Something we're still doing the Drunk Batman stuff and Grit, but we're doing something else at the moment too, just to take a little bit of a break from the Drunk Batman. Mm-hmm. And I was just working on that all day at the coffee shop, and yeah, and pretty simple day. But I saw a lot of the people come in just like a crack fiend for coffee, you know what I mean? I've been up since 8 this... I've been up since like 5 this morning. It's like, okay, that's good for you.
Yeah, that's nice.
How much money did you save? Like $15. Like, all right, good for you.
How much time did that cost you?
Yeah.
It's weird. And now, too, it's like, why don't you just get off the fucking internet, like, once it goes on sale, too.
That's what Cyber Monday is, yeah. Which, that's a new thing, so...
Yeah, but I mean, it's been around for 6+ years or so.
Yeah. Newish, I guess.
Yeah, it's newish. It's not the same. Mm-hmm. I mean, Cyber Monday probably started around the time that Black Friday finally started getting crowded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But, I don't know.
Yeah.
In other sad news, I saw that the new Sonic the Hedgehog game got like a 5.5 out of 10.
I got a new...
Which
I
is
got
like
a
the
Sonic
lowest...
story, but yeah.
I will say that's like the lowest score Sonic's had in a while.
Well, I didn't play it, I don't plan on playing it for a while. It's just one of those things. One of something that kind of saddens me a little bit. I mean, I didn't play...
No, I take that back. Not in Game Informer, they gave it a 5 out of 10. Not a 5.5, a 5 out of 10. Oh. And they didn't even give Sonic...
They didn't even have a picture of it. I'm seeing it right now.
They literally put them in the back where they put sometimes like, you know, like the new iPhone game or something like that.
Really?
Or other crap that they don't care too much about.
Because I was flipping through that magazine, and I was like, oh, they must not reviewed it yet. And then I just see it's in the very back next to like Fruit Ninja 5 or some shit.
Yeah, I mean, they literally shoved it back there and like, oh, what... Put this in the back with stuff we don't give a fuck about.
Yeah, no, for me it's one of those things, I've said this a bunch of times before, but the whole thing with Sonic is, I kind of realized that I was kind of hoping to come back, for them to at least get as good as, say, Sonic Adventure, and Sonic Generations was a step towards that. It wasn't perfect, but it was definitely a step towards at least a good Sonic game again.
And then there was the pure perfect game, pretty much, of Sonic, which was Sonic Episode 2.
Yeah.
Or Sonic 4 Episode 2.
Sonic
which
4
was, that to me was like, okay, they finally cracked the code back to like... Which one? It's like, they finally cracked the code. What was that code? Well, they made
Same
a game...
thing they did back in 1993.
Yeah. But that one kind of was cool because it added in just a little bit of elements you needed to make it feel kind of like, okay, this doesn't feel like I'm playing the same rehash. Because that's kind of like what Sonic 4 Episode 1 was. It was kind of like, well, I don't know how you call it Sonic 4. It's really just more like a remake.
Of 2 with a little bit of
like, yeah,
of
1
stuff.
and 2.
I actually read an article a little bit ago, and this is kind of sad to me, because I'm a little behind the times on, like, when it comes to a lot of internet stuff. But apparently a lot of online Sonic fans, they're considered almost in the brony category. Which, I'm not talking shit on bronies. I mean, Marley's a brony, and he's a good friend of mine. I consider him one of my closest friends. But it's one of those things, though, like, I don't think of Sonic the Hedgehog and My Little Pony in the same
No,
ballpark.
well, because one, Sonic the Hedgehog is clearly something that's intended for boys anyways, where My Little Pony is clearly intended for girls.
But I think it's just one of the, you got more than anything, just a very fanatic fan basis, which I like to think I'm not part of the fanatic fan base, but I mean...
Well, like, you could say it's the same thing as Star Trek and the same thing
Yeah.
as Star Wars and Lord of the Rings.
Well, there's an article that you actually, in a magazine
and
that we borrowed.
UFC and I'm trying to think of things in there that doesn't know.
Well, like, a lot of times if Sonic game does bad, even though, like, it's one of those things so many fans, like, go fucking ape shit, and they send death threats and everything, but then it's kind of like, you know, like, some things, like Sonic, I want to say a lot of people even flipped out about Sonic 4 Episode 2.
I never heard anything bad on that one.
I heard
that
some
was
people...
that was the one Sonic game that all the reviews I read were all pretty high. They gave it like anywhere from like
I mean, as far as like
8 to 9 to plus.
I'm not talking about like, you know, your standard game critic. I mean, like, you know, fanboys online on forums and all that. So it didn't do this, it didn't do that, didn't move exactly the same. Actually, no, I'm thinking of Sonic Episode 1.
You're thinking number one. Number one had a lot of critic stuff to it, but number two just. But the only thing about number two was kind of like it came out and it's almost like I didn't even fucking read a review in the magazine or anything like that. They're just kind of like they didn't even put in the "fuck you" category in the back of their magazine with no pictures.
They just even know, they didn't even acknowledge it.
I don't think they did.
So a lot of it. We're only down to a couple game magazines.
I would
now.
love it just to say in the background, just the "fuck you" section. Well, last time some of my favorite games appear in that section.
Well, no, it's there's actually
They put Star Fox in that section.
They did?
Yeah, they were the one for 3DS.
What'd they give it?
They gave it like an 8 out of 10.
No, well, at least they give it a good rating. But
Yeah, it's not like it got a bad rating. It just kind of got into like it's Star Fox. The voices aren't the same. Fuck you.
Well, what they ultimately say about what was bad about Lost Worlds? You don't got to read the article or nothing.
It's like It's like 2 sentences.
Really?
Probably.
Fuck this ... game.
No, this is what they said. They said imitation is the highest form of flattery, but Sonic's mimicry of Super Mario Galaxy's planet hopping formula is an embarrassment. Lost World is a confused mashup of finicky platforming, aggravating level design, and some of the most aggressively annoying villains ever.
That's kind of what I thought looking at it.
Fuck you. But it's like, because really, like a lot of, okay, I'll just say this, like, because I always read the Sonic reviews. It's, you know, I saw online, because I saw this on IGN. I think because I looked this up before I went to go get Sonic Episode 2. And then when I saw 9 out of 10 or something like that, or whoever had the 9 out of 10, I was like, oh, fucking awesome. I got to download that then. That might actually have just been on Xbox itself. But whatever. Because, you know, I saw Sonic Colors, and, you know, that got probably, I think, got like an 8 out of 10. And even Sonic Generations got somewhere like that, too. 7.5, 8 out of 10. Mm-hmm. And even, that was the last, what was the other one that came out, too, around that time?
Was it Rush Adventure or something like that? I never played that one, but...
Talk about the RPG one?
No, Rush Adventure. It's like another Sonic Rush. It's like another Sonic Rush game, but it's pirate themed. It's for the DS.
Huh. That might have been the fuck you section. I'm not too sure. But whatever. Like it just seemed like the last ones. They weren't getting like amazing rate. They weren't getting like a Super Mario or a Zelda. Like because Zelda's just been getting 10 out of 10 like on their last couple games. Just like whereas Sonic's just been kind of like but good enough. That's like well that doesn't not it's not horrible. It's not they're not doing it right yet. But at least it's not an idea. It's not at least it's not getting a fucking 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
And the sad thing too is because like Sega really was like, dude, this is fucking it, man. We're giving you what they. Well, I guess they always do that too. I guess no matter what, once you make something, even if you know it's kind of like not good, you gotta back it up.
I noticed with this. I think that here's the biggest problem with the Sonic games. They never say, all right, here's the game. Here's how we fucked up on the last couple. Let's try and figure out what we do. They almost keep on trying to reboot the franchise and keep on changing it until like. They get something way different, and they bring in aspects that never needed to be there in the first place.
What they gotta do is they gotta take that Sonic 4 Episode 2, take that and just make a full fucking game out of it. Give the game, you know, like 20 levels. Make you and you know, let you play as Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails, the 3 people you want to play as, and have it play just the same way as it did in that game. Or fuck, I mean, Sonic and Tails is good enough.
They learned like they learned a little bit, little by little. I mean, they made Unleashed, which is a piece of shit, just because of half the game. And then they think, okay, we took it a step up in colors. We made it just the levels you want to play, but the design, the characters are kind of annoying. And then in Generations, it was definitely a step up. It was actually, I'd say that was a good game, but the controls when you play as 3D Sonic were a little clunky. But overall, it was playable enough, and it was still a good game. And I was like, okay, can't be. Then once I saw the thing, it can't be like, you know, can't get that much worse than Sonic 4. The Sonic Lost Worlds, like, I'll wait.
And it just literally tanked.
And it's kind of like what they do is they keep on adding this. I mean, I know it's technically a kid's thing, but the way I view it is certain things, like when you look at it, like Batman was originally a children's thing, but it changed, developed over time, became something like to get really something that an adult can enjoy. Now, I'm not expecting Dr. Robotnik to beat Tails with a crowbar at any point, but I expected it to at least kind of like, all right, it's appropriate enough for kids.
But yet Sonic 1 year later goes out and gets a new sidekick. Well, Tails too, come on.
Tails, like Zombie Tails comes back, he wants revenge or something like that, and like
he explains to Sonic, he's like, I get it, I know you don't kill, but out of everybody out there, you let fucking Robotnik live? You let him go on?
He has a gun on Robotnik.
Sonic? How many?
By this point, Robotnik just kind of like, you know, he like fucking literally like skins people's faces off, just makes it that much fucking darker, you know?
Yeah, Dr. Robotnik's like lost his face, so he stole it back out of there. He's wearing it, strapped
just taking Batman plotline, just putting the Sonic the Hedgehog characters. No, but like, I'm not expecting to get that dark. I'm just saying, all right, it's like a Mario game, you know. Yeah, sure, it's still kid friendly, but
respect your fans that have been there for your whole existence.
So now I'm at the point where it's just kind of like, you know what? I mean, if a game looks really good, I'll play it, but I'm kind of just done with it. I mean, I'll always have the old games. I'll still always love the old games, but beyond that, I'm kind of done with an aspect. But speaking of Sonic, this is another kind of it's just another thing for the kids. Kind of, they're actually coming out with a new Sonic cartoon.
Oh, really?
Well, I was excited. Well,
is it going to be an anime or a cartoon?
A cartoon.
Okay.
Because what I heard was, I remember it was funny of all the places I don't think this is what he saw, but it kind of led me on the search for it. Of all places, I was like yesterday Thanksgiving, I was talking, my nephews are there. We were talking about what the nephew. Well, nephews actually still like Sonic the Hedgehog too. Mm-hmm. And that came up somehow. My dad's like, I'm surprised that shit's still around. Like,
Dad's always surprised, though.
Yeah, well, I think our generation's one of the first generations where
we just held on to things as old as we got.
Yeah, because I think that like older generations, like, well, I'm
12 years old. I got to give it up. I got to get a job now.
Yeah.
That factory ain't gonna work itself.
And the companies that made that entertainment understood, like, all right, on to the next best thing, you know?
Yeah, we're a factory too. We get it.
Yeah. So
everybody's a factory.
Is that right, Johnny Quest? So Johnny Quest eventually came back, but still, like that kind of stuff, like Flintstones, all the Hanna-Barbera stuff. But eventually they repackaged it and tried to sell it as retro. But anyway, going back to this, they were talking. He's like, yeah, I can't believe that Sonic shit's still going on. I was flipping to the TV the other day. I'm like, saw a cartoon for it. I'm like, there's another cartoon. So I went on Wikipedia. Maybe saw a rerun of something else that was on TV. Uh-huh. But apparently on Cartoon Network, they're coming out with a CG animated show.
So that's one of the few things that could work in a CG kind of look.
But I got excited for a second. But then it was a Wikipedia article. It just said, yeah, Sega is licensed Sonic to Cartoon Network, which is going to do a CG animated series. Oh, that's cool. So I went and looked it up online. That's all Wikipedia had to say about it. And on Sega's blog, they actually said, yeah, it's going to be a character-driven comedy. It's like character-driven action comedy. I'm like, oh, that could work.
Makes sense.
And then I went down. It says it's going to be aimed at children ages 6 to 11. I'm like, I'm kind of done. I don't know. Maybe, who knows? Maybe it might.
Yeah, well, give me my fucking Sonic that's aimed at people 20 to 55.
I'm not expecting that. I'm expecting kind of like, say, I don't know, maybe like I don't know, like something like, what's a good example here? Maybe something kind of like a Pixar movie. Something kind of like, not like that.
Something that's like, it's PG, yet it's not like geared towards like, hey kids, it's Wacky Wednesday.
Or another Cartoon Network show, for instance, Justice League Unlimited, for instance. A kid could watch that, but not. But
it's almost like a show made for adults first and foremost.
Kind of.
Well, that's one thing I like about, in a sense, superhero things is, for the most part, I guess on some of those, not like anything else like a Teen Titans thing or something like that, but mostly anything that's Batman, Superman, or the Justice League, they always seem to be geared kind of like, this is actually made for somebody who's 25 years old to like 35.
But a 12-year-old
But a kid could watch it because there's nothing like, bad or too dark in it.
Yeah. And that's how I feel with all the current DC. Well, at least all the DC stuff on Cartoon Network that I've seen. Maybe not Teen Titans Go, but I mean is like Young Justice or something like that.
Well, I feel like to make a good cartoon show, you really should shoot for like at least a 20-year-old audience, if not older than that even too. But just pull it back enough that it's like, okay, it's kid-friendly enough that, they're not going to see like tons of gore.
And I'm not even pissed off at the show or anything. I'm just like, well, they're doing their thing, and some things you can't expect it just to stop just for you. So it's those things. I always got those memories of that character and those games, and I'll always have those games. But it's there's no need to like get all pissed off like they keep on changing it. I mean, I'll say fuck Sonic Unleashed, no, without a second thought. But I mean, other things though, it's kind of like whatever. Times change.
Well, unlike Sonic, somebody who always keeps giving, which is Nintendo and Zelda, because they never seem to let me down. That's one franchise that never really lets you down, Zelda. Because even the worst like real Zelda game, it's better than a lot of other people's best game sort of.
Yeah.
And I got Link Between Worlds, and it is pretty badass.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, I mean...
I say like with a shock. I just didn't know you got the game. Even though last week on the podcast...
You got a 10 out of 10 in that Game Informer.
Even though last week on the podcast you said, yeah, after we're done recording, I'm going to go get that game. Here I'm like, you got the game?
Yeah.
I totally forgot.
But, no, it's pretty... Even though it's kind of one of those games, it really... It's like... It is a sequel, but it really feels almost like a mix of a sequel and a remake at the same time. Mm-hmm. Because, you're in the same exact place as A Link to the Past for Super Nintendo.
Is it the same map, just updated?
The exact same map. And they more just, they kind of what they do more than anything else, they just fix little things and change other things about it, sort of.
And this one, like, Link, he appears on walls and he can walk as like a...
Yeah, because that's kind of like the new thing. When I first saw it in the trailer, I was like, well, that looks gimmicky. But it turns out that actually that's pretty cool, and it works well. But I guess whenever I see those kind of things, it's like... Because Nintendo always has to have something you kind of look in the trailer and go like, well, that looks kind of gimmicky. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Cat suit Mario, Link going in the walls. Mm-hmm. Link turns to a wolf.
I almost bought.
You have to point that fucking controller at the ceiling to charge it up.
I almost forgot about there's the DS Link game, the DS Zelda game, and I almost bought that because I was in a big Zelda mood. Like, oh, you control a train? Fuck that.
Yeah, it's like it sounds gimmicky. It is probably pretty cool.
It's probably a fun game.
That's one of the few Zeldas I never picked up.
But it was one of those ones apparently you point on stuff. That's where Link walks. It's like no, I want to control.
Yeah, that's like the Sonic and the Sonic RPG one. I can't remember what it's called. The Dark Brotherhood or whatever. Uh-huh. And it's like that one. It's like the only downfall that game is really awesome, but the controls I don't like how it's like stylus only. It's like it's kind of annoying. They're just like
just twist their arm into this shit. We don't care how you do it.
But Zelda's really cool. Like, and the one thing that's kind of neat they do in this one is they give you all your main weapons like right off the bat. Mm-hmm. So you get the bow and arrow, you get the bombs, you get the hammer, you get the fire rod, the ice rod, the hook shot, all like your main equipment. They're just like, here, fucking have at it. Instead of like kind of going like, okay, I got to earn this here, and then I got to go to this temple and get that one there. And the cool thing about that though is it really actually lets you say like, hey, I can actually choose whatever temple I want to do first.
That's awesome.
Because every Zelda before, it's like, they kind of have things like, well, this temple or this temple could be done first, but technically it still needs to go in the same order because you're going to need this item to do this, and so on, or this is the only way you can reach this area. So for the first time in a Zelda game, you literally can just go, I can choose whatever temple I want.
Here's the thing about that game. I want to get that game, I really do, but before I do, I want to play A Link to the Past first.
Each one of those ones, it's like, you could almost, I mean, like, This game is almost kind of like A Link to the Past. I mean, the story's pretty much kind of like, it's more like, this shit happened once, it's happening again.
Is it the same Link?
No, it's not the same Link, though. I thought it was. That was the only thing
I was like, your uncle died again!
Yeah, it's like, no, it's like, this Link's like, you wake up in the same fucking house. I mean, it's like really not that much different, except for you have a job. He's like, and Link's always late to go in, like, you work for the blacksmith, and you're fucking late again, Link. It's like, well, whatever, you gotta go save the world, I guess.
Link's always the, like, lazy fuck-up who ends up going around smashing people's pots, cutting their bushes down in every village. Nobody ever likes Link. He's like, there's the mute kid who he doesn't know how to do anything but scream. He's always late. Yeah. He doesn't have a fairy. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, he always is that guy. And even things like this, like a lot of things, like if you play A Link to the Past and you kind of knew where certain items were, they're in like the exact same spot almost.
Oh, okay.
Or close enough to it. You might have to do something slightly different.
They make any reference or acknowledgement to the pink hair?
No, they never do.
Okay.
And, they can explain, like, there's one part where you go in the castle and there's, like, these paintings on the wall. It's like, let me get you caught up on A Link to the Past. And there's, like, 10 paintings that got captions on them. It's like, okay, we got that part covered. Now let's keep going. But it is one of those ones that's like, this shit's happened before. There's been a Zelda. There's been a Link. This is all going on again. I don't know why JFK's like this.
The speech from the King of Hyrule. Hello, my Hyruleans.
I am your president and ruler.
Do not ask what Hyrule can do for you, but what you can do for Hyrule.
Oh fuck, Ganon's coming.
Just an arrow in the back of the head as he goes by in his chariot.
Back and to the left. And here's another really cool thing they do in the game, though, too.
It's a scroll. They just keep on going back and to the left.
Just back and to the left.
All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Put your 3D slider on really quickly.
50, yeah, 50.
50 years of JFK.
What I said I feel bad because he probably was. I mean, as far as the presidents I looked into, he was probably one of my favorite presidents. But yeah, anyway, you're saying.
But this is the other cool kind of thing they do in this too is instead of having ammo and bombs and arrows and any of that kind of stuff, and even magic, they just give you this one magic bar and it's like a stamina bar. So the more bombs you throw, the farther it goes down. And then it just recovers over time pretty quickly, too. And you use that for everything. I mean, when you go in the walls, it goes down. You can use it for your arrows and stuff. But the upside of that's you don't have to go like, fuck, I need some arrows, fucking pots. Where the hell are the arrows?
Just breaking shit, yeah.
Yeah, well, so you always have it, and it always refills, which is kind of nice. Because all you gotta do is just go, do, just wait. Oh, okay, there we go, ready to go again. That's another cool aspect. I think it's like, well, that's actually kind of better than having to always buy shit.
Well, as an old school Zelda fan, it's probably going to be cool for you since it's one of the first like old school style Zelda games because it is top down view, right?
Well, yeah, it's top down. It really kind of, what it feels like though? It feels like Super Mario or the new Super Mario Brothers, but with Zelda. That's actually what it feels like, if that makes any sense.
Well, just taking what you know, but just giving a 3D like.
Where it's sort of even though they call it's kind of like with New Super Mario. Even though they call it a new Super Mario Brothers game, it's more like we just take a lot of things you already like and just expand on that, and that's kind of what this one is too.
Yeah.
It's not like Skyward Sword, which was like just pure new Zelda. That's what I loved about that game. Is it just kind of gave you like the feeling of playing Zelda all over again from day one. Because really the only two things there was Zelda-like in that game was Link and Zelda, and everything else was brand new, pretty much. Where this one's like the exact opposite, where it's just like, you've been here before, you've done this before, but you don't give a fuck. This is what you want.
That's Shigeru Miyamoto selling it.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's cool, and it's something about it, like, it doesn't feel totally different. Even some of the dungeons and stuff. I mean, the bosses, there's been different ones, and they kind of focus on different elements. And the dungeons also do that kind of like, how in Super Mario, or new Super Mario Land 3D,
Yeah.
they kind of had a lot of that like depth thing, which was kind of the cool thing. You're like jumping, you're like, holy fuck, look at that. And that was like, you could even turn the 3D on. It's like, it actually looks kind of good right there. I'll probably turn it off, but I can see how it could be used. They have a lot of that too in this one, where there's kind of like different levels of 3D, and you're looking down, since it's a down view game.
Well, that's what I always thought, because when like people explained the 3DS at first, it was like, how the fuck's that going to work? Then I realized, oh, it's like looking instead of a diorama. That makes more sense.
Dude, that's really how it is. And then, the hand things that are in all the Zelda games that grab you, and they're always kind of scary, because you're like, do, and then there's like a shadow, and it's like,
yeah, it makes that... When they land down, they make that noise.
Yeah, they jump down. The one in this game, the first time I saw it, it was fucking huge. It was about like a fifth the size of the screen coming at you.
Oh, wow.
It was like, oh my god, what the fuck?
Is there a little shadow appears above you, though?
It does, yeah, it does.
At least it gives you a heads up.
Well, because it does that in Ocarina of Time, too. Sometimes in Ocarina of Time, you're not paying enough attention, and you gotta hear that sound more than anything else. It's more like in the old Zelda game, too, it just kind of like slowly came after you, which almost made it scarier sometimes, because... It's like, oh fuck, it's getting closer.
The Re-Deads always scared the fuck out of me in Zelda. That was actually one of the first times in like a Nintendo game, I gotta put it down. I gotta come back to this later. When you have to go to like the graveyard in Ocarina of Time.
When I was a kid, that was one of the scariest parts in the game.
Or I remember there's a part where they're all
pretty scary as far as games go when you really think about it.
Yeah, I remember there's a part you have to go inside of a crypt and get some kind of item. I remember.
Which it's actually like
Now I'm gonna cut you off, but I'll say this: that part. Don't ask me why. But that part when you go into the where you go into the graveyard in that old Legend of Zelda game, not old Legend, Ocarina of Time. I guess it is old by these standards, but that reminds me now of Drag Me to Hell, or vice versa. The part when she's digging up the grave to give the old bitch the cursed button, but she ends up switching it out. But that part at the end always reminds me of like Ocarina of Time, that part. Even though no zombies come out, just that the look, the vibe of it,
Also in this game, it's got some like there's things from other Zelda games in it too, like Dampy's in it. He's at the graveyard. In your house, the Majora's Mask is there on the wall. I don't know if you can ever get it off.
Oh, really?
But
so is this maybe somehow like placed in like is this
after everything else? I'm guessing. I don't know.
Maybe it's just a little Easter egg. Maybe it's implying that this is like the Link from Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask.
No, I don't think that's implying it.
Oh, okay. Just a little, like, fun little note for the...
Yeah, because knowing those Zelda things... Because, like, really, like... it's always kind of that same town, just about, and people always seem to be the same people over and over again. Oh, almost Zelda's like, life just repeats itself. Get used to it.
Brought to you by Morgan Freeman.
Yeah. But overall, it's pretty cool. I would recommend it. I think it's probably one of the best, or the best 3DS games out at the moment. I don't know if it's good as Pokemon, but it's pretty damn good, though.
I'll keep my eye out for that. I'm just saving
If you
money
need a
right
new
now.
game, that's a game to go and get.
I gotta beat a couple games. Like I got my 3DS. Like my Xbox games, that stack's done. I still gotta finish Skyward Sword. It's almost done. I just still sitting there waiting to be fun. I love that game so far, but you know how it is when you stop playing the game in the middle of a mission, in the middle of a temple. Like, what the fuck was I doing?
I know, that's like one of the worst things you can ever do in a Zelda game too.
And you know it, be like, I'll come back to it tomorrow. I'll come back to the day after.
Some way you just get busy, and then next thing you know.
Yeah, which I'm gonna come back to that game because I really do enjoy Skyward Sword. But I finished all the main Xbox games I was playing. Now I gotta work down my 3DS stack, which is only like 2 or 3 games, but still.
What games have you not beat on it yet?
I haven't beat Black.
Pokemon Black?
Yeah. Haven't beat that. I haven't beat, even though I beat the original, I have not beat Ocarina of Time.
Mm-hmm. And
I'm not really in a rush to beat it, but I guess I should beat it at some point in time. New Super Mario Bros. 2.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's just more Mario. I mean, I don't think it's going to be anything. No, Mario, you didn't save the princess. You fucked up this time. I know it's not going to end that way. Just wait for that one edgy Mario ending, or
Yeah.
the Darren Aronofsky Mario ending where he gets there like too late, Mario kills himself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still need to finish Pokemon Y. That's one of those ones that's like I just got kind of like busy, and then Zelda came out. I was like, fuck. I hate that when you start getting that stack of games, it starts building and building. You're like, no, stop it.
My 3DS, that stack will build because for whatever reason, it's easier for me to put down a handheld game than it is a console game.
Yeah.
I think
I guess. It depends what kind of game it is, I think, but yeah.
I mean, now it's at the point where we don't really have half-assed games anymore on a handheld. We have full-on, like, games on handhelds now. Because before, it'd be like, if you did get... Well, I guess if you got, like, say, Assassin's Creed on 3DS or PS Vita, you probably have something.
Yeah, there still is probably those half-assed games. I'd say games almost have been pretty damn good on handhelds ever since, like, the original Pokemon came out. Because I always think before that on Pokemon, or, like... Because you think about the old Game Boy, name off how many really good games that you could probably go back and play today. I'm not really saying you necessarily would sit down for hours upon hours, but you could play for a good hour and you'd be pretty satisfied.
And that's not to bring them down. I mean, there is still a lot of nostalgia. There's still some good games on there, but it's just one of those.
Like which game? I mean, like the only games I can think of is Link's Awakening. That's one of the few ones that's always
Mario
still
Land.
really good. And Mario Land 1 and 2. But that's about as far as I get because also it's like the Metroid 2, I don't know if that doesn't really hold up too well.
Well, it's a lot of those kind of games. The thing about it is it's not so much that like they're bad games. It's just like they went making this game knowing they were limited.
Well, yeah, it's such limited technology. And it's like these games are like, they're kind of like stepping stones of how we get to where we are today. But because it's almost like you play a Game Boy game, it's kind of even a step back from regular Nintendo. Sort of. It's like there's always some things that are a little bit more advanced in it, but then it's also kind of like, I don't know, another game that's like I could never really imagine playing again, and I think this is just because there's better versions of them out though, is Pokemon, like the original Red and Blue. I just feel it's just like nowadays if I was gonna play Red and Blue, I would play Fire Red or Leaf Green.
No, I get you. I mean, every time I've tried to re-pick that one up and play it again, it's like I'll get to the first 3. Like for me, the funnest part of those games, because the only ones I really played the whole way through and really got into, in all honesty, was Red and Blue. Those are the only 2 I really... Gold and Silver I liked, but then I kind of fell off. And I know that game gets better.
Gold and Silver's no one too. It's like there's a remake out there.
Then I haven't really gone... And Black is the first one I've played. And it's like, I mean, I don't give a shit for anything else Pokemon, but the games, I don't care what people say. Those games are still fun from what I've played. And what was I going to say regarding that? Oh yeah. When it comes to Pokemon now, though, if I go back and play Blue or Red, it's one of those things, I'll get up to, like, say, the 3rd gym, and by that point, though, I kind of lose...
You're kind of burnt out.
It's not so much that, like, oh, this game sucks. It's more of kind of like... So the funnest part is kind of like starting off with one character and just building up your team. But by the time you get a big, badass team, it's kind of like, I've been here before. I know.
Well, now it's just
that
like,
sense
well,
of
I guess...
whimsy's kind of gone. I mean, once you play that game so many times, that sense of whimsy is kind of gone. Once by the time you get beat past the third gym, you know, and you want that. You don't really get that kind of like, oh, I'm fresh. Like, you're like a war vet by that point. Like, I've seen some shit, you know. So.
Even though, yeah, it's like that red and blue. That I would say just like as far as like game wise, that is at least in my top 10 of like most amazing games ever. Because when I really think back to it, it's like there's just the most fondest memories of that game. You know, I can think of all the parts in it and all the different areas, and it's just like it takes me back every single time I play those ones. But as I said though, it's like if I go to play it though, I'm probably gonna play Fire Red and Leaf Green.
Yeah.
Because that's just, I don't know, fuck it, I want running now. It's kind of like whenever you go to play a first-person shooter, you're like, I can't run?
Yeah.
It was like, oh, finally, in Halo 4, you can run. Jesus Christ.
Took that much time to add to it.
Well, in Halo Reach, they sort of had, like, you could pick up a power-up that was running, which really kept me from picking up any other power-ups, because I'm like, well, I kind of need to run. I don't know. The shield sounds nice, but I need to fucking run.
Think of how many lives Master Chief could have saved if he didn't just lightly jog.
Oh, yeah, he's always just kind of like space strutting.
Yeah, like, Master Chief, help me!
I'm coming!
I'm coming, just space strutting.
Whoa! Watch out!
Too late.
Oh, fuck it.
Oh well, I'm the chief. What you gonna do?
Yeah. I actually played another game that was really fucking awesome recently.
Which was that?
The Deadpool game.
Oh, really?
And that game was one of those kind of games that kind of came out, and then I didn't hear too much about it. It was just kind of Deadpool, Marvel fans, whatever, fuck them.
Yeah. That's how the magazines treated it also.
That other Marvel character, Deadpool.
Yeah.
No, that game is fucking awesome. Yeah, I liked it a lot.
What does it play as? Give me another example of a game that plays as.
It plays a lot like a Suda51 game.
Like Devil May Cry or something, maybe? Or
no, Suda51.
That's not. I know that's not Suda51, but I was thinking
no, it reminds me a lot of like something like No More Heroes, Killer is Dead, even Shadows of the Damned. It reminds me a lot of those. Like, it reminds me a lot because also the humor's like the same as the Suda51 game. And then just the lot of action. It doesn't have the boss battles that like Suda51 has, because he has, the Metal Gear Solid style bosses where like everything's like, it's almost geared around those boss battles. That's like the huge like setup, and every boss plays completely different. They're all a different character and whatnot.
I saw X-Men characters in like screenshots. Do they actually have any other characters?
There's no characters outside of X-Men. It's pretty much just the pure X-Men game. It's not like where he's like traveling through everybody else. There's no Captain America, no Thor, no Spider-Man, no nothing. But I don't know, it's just like, yeah, because pretty much, yeah, I guess you could say Devil May Cry. I would say Ninja Gaiden. It feels more like a Ninja Gaiden with guns.
Okay.
And yeah, I love the hell out of it. It was only probably about 6 hours long, give or take, for the main story, and that's about it. It also kind of has some elements, too, of sort of like Batman Arkham Asylum. Sort of. You can see there's a bit of it.
I know they actually do things kind of like jokes within the game of kind of like, you get to a part like, oh, this isn't fully rendered out. We shouldn't have left this to like the new guy or something.
Well, they do parts where it's like it's in fucking 8-bit. What the fuck? And he calls up his like agent's like, dude, here's another like $20,000. Make that fucking look better.
Does he actually say that?
Yeah. There's a part too, because like whenever you meet a new character, you press A or whatever, it shows all the kind of comics in the background, and Deadpool kind of explains like, this is who say Rogue is or whatever, or this is Wolverine and stuff. And there was a song that was just fucking hilarious. It was when they showed Cable. It was in the background. There was a song that was like, "Who the fuck is that? Who the fuck is that?" And it was, and Deadpool's explaining who Cable was or whatever.
Who the fuck is that?
Who the fuck is this?
Imagine, is this a game? So this is a game where Deadpool's not annoying. They actually did a good job with him.
That's the best part about it. Deadpool doesn't sound annoying, because I remember in Hulk versus, you're just like, "Fuck, this guy's annoying." It's like he's so funny in the comic books. But I can't seem to capture him in, like, a motion picture or live action.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I was like, who the fuck is that? It had more lines than that,
and
too.
they don't bleep it out or nothing?
No, there's no bleeping
That's
out.
good, that's
one of the best parts, too. And there's even parts, too, it's like, he's like, who would I rather want to fuck? Do I want to fuck, Domino or Rogue? Whose tits are bigger? And it's got all this, like, little humor just in it, and it's just kind of great, because you think about it, like, there's always that fear, it's like, well, now Disney has Marvel. Are they going to tame some of these, like, characters?
Good. Well, that's probably, I think there's some things, that mouse probably has his back to certain things. He probably just chucks a wad of money, or like the license over his shoulder. I don't give a shit, just bring back some fucking money,
Yeah, that's probably how it is. It's like, well, this will sell, this will work. It's probably one of those games, if you didn't care anything about Deadpool, you probably would not find it nearly as interesting.
That's what everybody said.
It's fun, but if you're an X-Men fan, and if you like Deadpool, it's actually really fucking awesome. awesome.
Okay.
It's not that long of a game, so it's almost like I wouldn't say it's probably worth maybe like the $60 because you'd be kind of done with it and I beat it in 2 days. I almost beat it in one sitting if I didn't have to go somewhere.
It's just made me laugh. Who the fuck is that?
Who the fuck is that? And yeah, it's just, the humor in it is great.
I'm just guessing, his other 2 personalities, the left side of the brain and right side of the brain, probably are the tutorials telling you where to go, what to do.
No, not necessarily.
Really? I just guessed that. That would have been clever, but yeah, what would it?
I mean, there is sort of like they do banter on and they say stuff and yeah, and they don't make because even though because the one side's pretty much retarded and the other guy's smart.
Yeah, yeah.
And the retarded guy, even though he's kind of got like the dumb voice, he's still not annoying, which is a good thing. But yeah, it's a sweet game. Oh, there's like a rap song too, because there's like these Gambit clones that come after you, because they kind of have to do this thing where it's like Mr. Sinister is the main villain of it, and he just has his clones. And when they're like, well, how can we make more villains? Well, fuck it, he has a Gambit clone that comes after you and they explodes, Mm-hmm. But there's like a Gambit song, like rap song, but it was like mon ami, mon ami, mon ami. And when you hear it's like, oh fuck, Gambits are coming. And there's I can't remember the rest of the song, but there's great songs. I mean, there's like ones where it's like whenever you see Rogue, and even there's parts too where like Wolverine, they pick you, Deadpool's like, well, I gotta go on this fucking mission if you guys are Sinister, and Wolverine's like, fuck, I don't want you going. And they get like the extra or whatever.
Steve Blum's Wolverine, I'm guessing.
Yeah, he is. And they're flying the X-Jet out and stuff, and Deadpool's like, I want to fucking fly this. And Wolverine's like, no. What happened last time? He's like, that wasn't my fault, or whatever. And he flies, they crash right in the fucking... They go to Genosha, where the whole place takes place. And he gets out, and Wolverine's on the ground, or whatever. And Deadpool's carrying him out, or whatever, and he, slaps Wolverine on the ass, and he's on the ground. He's like, fuck, he's knocked out. And you get on top of him, you just keep bitch slapping Wolverine. And it literally sits the bottom and says, bitch slap. So every time I press X, you just keep slapping the crap out of them. There's tons of just little things. Like I can't remember all of them, but it was just it was one of those times like that was one of the greatest 6 hours I've ever played in a video game. It was just really enjoyable, quick to the point. And yeah, it's like I'd buy it once it's cheap again. I got it off GameFly. That's where I got it from. But
I'll have to buy that at some point. I bet you could probably find it for like $20 now or $30 maybe, because games go down pretty quickly.
It's not that old still, though. It's only been out for like a little over a month.
I thought it's been out for like 3 months by this point.
Not that long.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was in the last Game Informer, I want to say.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not that old.
Oh, all right. 2
months max, I'd probably say.
Oh,
no, that was it was fucking awesome.
I'll have to keep my eye out.
It plays really smooth. Yeah, there's no complaints. I just think that somebody, if you weren't into X-Men, you would just be like, what the fuck is this? I think it's just one of those kind of games. It's made for like the hardcore fan. That's really what this game is.
I mean, I'm really into... I know enough about X-Men. I'm more really into Deadpool.
It's like, well, who the fuck goes out and buys an X-Men game if they don't like X-Men?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because in the reviews, they always say that, too. It's like, well, if you're not really a fan of this, you're not going to like it. Well, it's like, well, why would... Who would go out and buy that game, then?
Yeah, that's a good point. They always do mention that.
But they always say that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It was really cool.
Well, beyond that, though, what was I going to say? Regarding... I mean, I haven't really played nearly as much video games lately. I feel kind of bad because I'll like not play any games at all, but then suddenly there'll be like one game that comes out that's just like, I want to play that one, but then I just won't play any video games for like 3 months or something like that after a while. I mean, those last 2 or 3 months have been a little different because Arkham Origins and then GTA 5.
Well, this is mostly when like that period where there's just a lot of good games come out, so that's kind of the thing. It's just like, fuck, I gotta buy these games. And it's nice that you end up buying them, but you don't have nearly as much time as you did money.
I mainly just end up, I mean, I'm not trying to like guilt trip, like I just work all the time, but I've mainly just been working on the comic and all that. Not the comic, I keep on saying comic. I keep on working on the animation, all that kind of stuff, which you think, yeah, sorry, it's been a long fucking day. Pretty much right now I've been going to like working on this new project we've been working on, and on top of that, I've been working on Grit, and I've been primarily doing that at coffee shops. I've been going to because I don't really do it at home. Because I think there might be something wrong with me. I might have some form of ADD. Because if I'm at home long enough, I easily get distracted. So I almost have to go out in public and work on this stuff.
And I feel like I'm the exact opposite. I work so much better if I'm at home.
Because my thing is, it's like if I don't know, don't get me wrong. It's like I don't really care what people think about me so much, but it's like strangers. I don't want to be that guy who just sits at his computer watching YouTube videos all day in public or like on Facebook or whatever. I just don't want to be that guy. And not judging people who do that,
Just I don't want to be that person.
Well, maybe that's the only free downtime that guy gets. But and maybe that guy works the longest job in the world. I don't know. But I don't want to exactly, be that guy. So I just kind of like, if I do work, I'm just like, okay, I'm working on the animation. I'm working on drawings, doing that.
So it keeps you on track because then like, if you're there, like I drove all the way fucking out here.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
spending money. I better work.
It's
where when you're at home, you're kind of like, well, I'm at home. I can do whatever. You almost have this like freedom. It's like I'm at home. And free time.
And there's this form of discipline. It's kind of like, I guess, my kind of discipline. Because if I'm at home, I can get shit done, but not as much as when I'm out. And out of that, I guess, lately, if you go to a place long enough, there's other people that go to that place long enough. And after a while, they recognize you. Mm-hmm. And after a while, they want to come and talk to you. And
see, that's where I feel like the main reason I couldn't go out in public and do this thing.
For that reason.
I just feel like I'd have people talking to me all day long and I'd never get anything done.
Well, here's the thing, okay? It doesn't happen all the time, but it's like, and all right, don't get me wrong. I mean, Marley, if you're listening to this, it's cool when because sometimes I bump into Marley at the same place, and it's cool if I bump into a friend like Marley or another friend of mine, Jeremy, who's on Marley's podcast, and I'll bullshit with them for a while. But every once in a while, and that's cool. But or if it's somebody every once in a while, you'll get some guy has nothing going on and just fucking walks in, and it's not so much that he wants to talk to you, it's that he has some weird shit bottled up in his head that he just has to spit out. Mm-hmm. And he's going to ask you what you're doing, and he's going to listen long enough until he can find some loose end way to link in this bullshit he has to fucking spill out and say. It's never the thing is it's never really the girl who looks like well educated who sits there with a cup of tea reading like poetry or something. It's never like, the cute nerdy chick that comes in and just, just minds her business reading comics or whatever. It's always just some fucking oddball guy who just wanders in off the street who has ideas of philosophy but not a fucking job,
See, that's my biggest problem with the public thing though, is like my entire life I've always been that guy that there can be 100 people there, and there's these people that they just instantly see me, they're like, that's the guy I gotta tell my life story to. And it's like, I guess that almost makes me a shouting, because I'm like, I don't want to go out. You like those, it's like, you enjoy those conversations, like, when you realize you're not getting them anymore. Uh-huh. Because you're like, what the fuck, I kind of like that when random people come and talk to me. It makes me feel special.
Well, the thing is, my thing is, they wouldn't, like, all right, the other day, there's this guy, you probably see him around town, kind of a balding guy, kind of tan, older, kind of like wanders around town. Have you seen? He's in a lot of the Sonora area.
See, I never go to Sonora, so I wouldn't know.
Well, anyway, this guy...
I only go to Sonora when I have to go to the movie theater or if I have to pick up a brand new movie.
Headphones on. It was when I was working on this new project. Headphones on, not looking at anything. The guy walks up, literally starts talking. It's like, I'm sorry, what? Like, oh, what you doing here? A lot of kids these days just sit here and play video games. I don't understand what it's all about. I don't get it. I'm like, oh, I'm working right now. I was like, working.
My generation, we used to just go in the bathroom and, there was a hole, and you get what I mean, right? It's like a video game. There's a joystick involved, sort of.
If there wasn't a hole, we just, stay in the circle and slap our dicks. The first one that got hard was a fag,
And then we could have beat the shit out of him, so it was all a good day's work.
Yeah. No, this guy actually seemed a little bit off, like he was off his medication, maybe. He was like, oh, well, what are you doing? Like, well, I'm just doing kind of like animation, sort of, to an extent. And he's like, animation, really? Like, yeah, you're a pretty artistic guy. Like,
so you work for Warner Brothers, right?
Not even that. No. He was literally just trying to find a way to lead into this shit. And he's all like, going on. So you're an artistic guy. Okay, I guess I'm artistic. Yeah, I was never that artistic.
So you must be gay, too.
I think there's a hole in this room. All you gotta do is just take the poster off. There's a fucking glory hole there. I work there on Tuesdays. I don't know who works there on Wednesdays, but...
I don't know. You can't miss the poster. It's a Purple Rain one.
Trust me, you don't want to take down the Wham poster. Dark shit happens behind the Wham poster. But anyway, leads into this shit. He just kind of reaches that point where he's just going on. He's all like... Yeah, you could just almost kind of look in their face, kind of calculating. It's because it happens so many fucking times. They're looking for a word they can link in into because in podcasts, naturally, you're looking for how can I link in this joke? Mm-hmm. You kind of see it on these guys' face, only it's just some bullshit you don't want to hear.
Exactly.
He's like, so you're the artistic guy. Huh? I was never really that artistic. My grandma was artistic. My grandma lived in New York, and let me tell you about New York, It's just so barely
here comes the life story part.
Yeah. I used to... He goes on this fucking story. This motherfucker goes on this big long story about how If you don't want me to say, you might say, Ryan, you're saying someone else's secrets. If the guy didn't want me to say it, he shouldn't have fucking told it to me
in a public place.
Yeah, so fuck him.
He went to me back to the bathroom, pulled that Wham poster.
Wham poster. Purple Rain, if it was like a light, if you want to
Purple Rain on one side, Wham on the other.
No, but starts going off like, some kids I know are good with the hacking thing. I actually did some hacking back in the 70s, back when it was a little easier to do and didn't take as much effort, like there's that Captain Crunch guy who apparently broke in, they called it the plastic whistle. And just, he's going on and on and on.
Yeah, that's nice.
It's like, okay, yeah, that's great, and then he's going on, I'm getting every other word just about, but I get like maybe one full sentence, and that's when, my girlfriend, we broke up, and that fucking bitch, let me tell you, man, she just pissed me off. So what I started doing is I started prank calling. I hacked in, I looked up some information on her, I found out where she was living now, found out where she was, all that. So I started giving her shit. Next thing you know, the FBI comes by my front porch like, did you do it? Like, yeah, you caught me. I'm like, all right, don't do it again. And just like, what the fuck just happened?
I get those. See, this is the main reason I don't think I could ever work in public, because I get that a lot just by going into public, let alone working.
So that guy will stop you on the street?
Oh yeah, that guy would stop me on the street. If I was out in public, that guy would instantly stop me. He would look, he would see everybody else out there and go, that's the one. He's the chosen one. And I've gotten that so many times. It has to be the long
hair and the beard. I don't know what it is about me. People don't always jump out. It's just one of those things like it's...
People a lot of times avoid you, I notice.
They think I'm just like, yeah, they do.
I don't mean that in a mean way, but I just know that there's been times in life where people just, even if you forcefully get kind of put into a conversation, they just lead over to somebody else.
I notice. Alan the judgmental hippie, for one.
Mm-hmm. So it happened.
No, it was like when you guys were filming the Them Strangers video. We went to this. There's the video to Lonely Road to San Antonio. Mm-hmm. It's on the YouTube page, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah, it's on any of the video sites except for Newgrounds.
Back to like Spencer's old band, Them Strangers, and we filmed that at this dude's house. This old hippie dude who had this. His brother made this house.
It was a really neat house. Very kind of like it was made like in the 80s, but it looked like it was made like 1880s.
Mm-hmm. It was kind of like an oddly, you could kind of tell he was building it as he went along, because things were in weird spots, but it was actually very cool, very interesting looking. That's where we filmed it. And I was doing all the camera work when you guys were playing in the video and all that. Mm-hmm. And we got into a conversation with the guy. And it was you and Marshall, because you're both musicians. That's what the guy liked. He loves music. Mm-hmm. So then, like, he was like, so, Marshall, Spencer, kind of leaning in. I'm just kind of sitting in the far corner with, like a bowl this healthy chicken pasta stuff he made. Sitting in the far corner. It's like, so, like, Spencer, Marshall, tell me, what are your interests? How'd you guys get to this? Like, well, we did, and, like, I
was like, well, me and Ryan... we work on animations, and Ryan does a comic book and stuff, and then there's just, like, this pause. So, Marshall!
I just have that thing that, like, there's at some point...
he just didn't give a flying fuck, like, oh, this guy, well, he just draws the funny.
Yeah, he just does that, foxtrot, bullshit.
Yeah, what we used to call foxtrot, we call it fucktrot.
Fucktrot. No, remember when you guys were filming, you guys were setting up, and I was getting ready to shoot, it was like a distant shot, and there was like, you could see a cat somewhere in that video, I think, sitting around. At some point, he's like one of those really hippie guys, and he comes up like, that cat is such a beautiful soul, man. It's just such a whimsical little thing. It's at peace. It's at ease. It's a fucking cat. I'm like, oh, but I don't say that. I'm like, all right, yeah. Like, yeah. I mean, it is a nice cat. I was petting it earlier. I actually got this really nice German Shepherd. She's really friendly. She's old. She's getting there, but she's a really sweet dog. Her name's Abby. Looks at me, walks off. Say a fucking word.
I wasn't here to let you talk. I was here to talk myself.
I want to talk to you about that whimsical soul, that wonderful, beautiful cat. Fuck you and fuck your dog. Walks off. And say that, but
without even saying it.
Yeah. Okay, you guys ready for that shot?
Yeah. See, and that's my fear of public. My fear of going out and working in public is I'm just going to get all kinds of conversations that are going to hold me up. Because I get those no matter what. I go to a restaurant, I get those conversations. I go to a store, I get those conversations.
Yeah,
I go to the movie theaters, I get those conversations.
I get those conversations
with people. It's not during the movie, but...
I get those conversations usually with just a random... They don't happen all the time, it just happened the last 2 days because this guy noticed where I've seen him around town.
This guy's like looking for you.
He's looking for me now. Like he doesn't have anything to do. I wonder if the computer boy when he draws the monkey with the gas mask is there. You know.
He's gonna be the old next Bugs Bunny. I tell you what.
I want to hear about my grandpa who lives in Denmark.
Let me tell you there.
Yeah. So.
If you want to draw a real story, I got a story for you.
In case you're running out of
okay.
ideas.
You can have this free of charge.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. I got my own stories.
Yeah, you do get a lot of thing like, oh, I got ideas, man. It's like it's so.
It's funny how people really think like having ideas must be the most important part to making any creative project. Most people just think that, man, this guy's gonna be so happy. Man, he does animation or he does video or comics even. Well, guess what, man? I got fucking ideas. That's the main ingredients. Like, yeah, we all got fucking ideas.
Well, my thing, it's kind of like, I'm not trying to put people down if they want to make something cool, but every once in a while,
if they want to make it, that's cool.
If they want to make it, that's cool.
If they want to do the thing where they just talk and I do all the work, fuck those people.
If someone actually has, like, I understand if, like, by idea, if you mean you got a script and you want to look for some way to make it, cool. If you want to become a writer, cool, but it's just when you got ideas. It's like everybody has ideas.
Well, even too, it's like, okay, it's different when you're a professional screenwriter and that's what you're doing. Mm-hmm. There's also that kind of attitude where it's like, I got all these ideas, but I don't want to do any of the fucking work. You do all the hard stuff.
Yeah.
I'm the idea guy. It's like, no.
Yeah, well, plus...
When it comes to guerrilla filmmaking, anything like that, it's like, no, you fucking carry a lot of weight.
I'm not trying to talk like... I'm not trying to sound like conceited or egotistical when I say this, but there's one time, because this happened like once or twice. I mean, all right. Every once in a while you get someone who says idea. Like at one point in time when you made that show, Good Old Tuolumne. Mm-hmm. And we're eventually going to go back to doing that show. Eventually. Not right now, but eventually we're going to reboot it, do something else. But I remember when I was telling somebody at a party about it, people jumped in. I'm like, oh, dude, I got so many Tuolumne stories idea. You gotta let me jump in on this, dude. I got so many stories. It's about rednecks, and it's about, like, well, rednecks are in the show, but it's not really about rednecks exactly. It's just set in Tuolumne. So it was just one of those things that just, and then, like, aside from that, the most outlandish, most fucking out of nowhere, left field thing that happened was there's one time I was talking to this one guy. Actually, there's two sort of stories like that. One's kind of reasonable, one's not. But I was talking to this one guy at a bar. Mm-hmm. And it was one of those moments like, he's like, man, I got ideas. There's a guy I used to work with. I got ideas. I was thinking, man, you make movies, right? You make movies. Like, yeah, I make movies. Got this idea for a movie, man. It's just action the whole way through. It's like this whole city is trying to kill. He's doing hand motions. People can't see the hand motions I'm making, but this one city wants to kill this one guy, and he's just trying to get out of the city, man. He's just trying to get out. It could star Bruce Willis, and it's just like.
What, you got Bruce Willis's number?
You got Bruce Willis and a fuck ton of set money? Because I don't.
Yeah.
That's the only time that ever happened. But, well, there's actually just one other... I'm not trying to be conceited, but it's just some people, it's just like, they hear you make movies, they assume, I guess, you automatically have, like, a Hollywood number sometime. But,
then they also assume that it must just be like, you wave a wand and everything happens.
Yeah. But no, there's one that was like... This one, actually... This is kind of funny, but it was actually a little bit more of, like... This is a multi-layered story. At the gym I go to, which is the gym Spencer works at, there's this one young black kid that went there. I believe the kid was like from I don't remember. I think he was maybe from Uganda or something. He was a really nice kid. He was a really nice kid.
Oh, yeah, I know that kid.
And he
it's the guy who has like 7 children and they're all from like different places. I just assume he must adopt them because I have no idea how else that happens.
Well, the thing is, the guy was like 30, but he had like 7 or 8 kids all from like different places. And I remember just like, he said like, have you seen my kids? Like, you just pause, like you're about to correct them. Like, I mean, the kids went that way. He paused for a second, like you're about to correct, like your kid, right? Okay, because they were all like, it's like literally the color of the rainbow right there.
Well, I just thought like it was like, oh, this must be like a birthday party. He's just taking like his son's friends of, oh no, they're all his kids. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Well, anyway, he was a really nice kid. He was a really sweet kid. He was like, and he saw you were talking to me, so he saw that you were talking to me, so he was later talking to me.
This was a kid that was like 12 years old, but he was buffer than anybody else in the
gym. He was fucking ripped. He was
not
legit.
buff. I mean, I guess he was more ripped than anybody else.
He was just fucking ripped. No, he took off his shirt. He had a fucking 8-pack, just buff. I'm like, okay, this kid's probably in high school. He's probably
Football team,
17,
basketball team,
17 says
hockey team, some team. I'm guessing team.
Yeah. Then they shake his hand like, oh, hey, man, how's it going? Like, you're friends with Spencer, right? I'm like, yes, I'm friends with Spencer. Like, you make movies with him? Like, yeah, I make movies with him. He's all like, he's just like, who's been in your movies? I'm like, oh, what do you mean? Like, you know Brad Pitt? I'm like, oh, sorry, dude, I don't know Brad Pitt. No, it's smaller things. I mean, I get it. He's from another country. I get it. But he was a really nice guy, too, though. But yeah.
That happens a lot, too, when you get people that are younger and they hear
Like, this kid's got to be 16. He's all like, no, I'm 12 years old. Like, what the fuck?
Oh, Jesus Christ. I was almost going to take you in that back room with the fucking Prince poster. Oh, Jesus. Like, a good thing I realized
I'm not fucking gay, man, but you're a good-looking guy. I'm just saying. Prince
just saying.
poster.
I thought you were 18.
Yeah.
It's not gay. There's a wall in between. It's, I don't even want to explain this to you, actually.
This guy who apparently stalked his girlfriend and talked about Captain Crunch a lot told me about this.
He started this. It's like a tradition or something.
Yeah.
I don't know how I got involved.
First I wasn't
One thing
into
led to
it.
another.
First I wasn't into it. You kind of got me hooked, you know. Sure enough,
Sure enough, it's what we do every Wednesday night.
I don't know if it's him or if it's somebody else. Regardless,
Here you go. Here's the card.
Don't
when
take
you
the
get
one-
older, you give us a call. I'm pretty sure it'll be around. It's been there for 45 years.
the password is blueberry.
Blueberry muffin.
No, to stay away from the wham poster. The wham poster's not for amateurs.
Yeah. God knows what goes on the other side there.
It's just it's just like the hole is like in fucking like
This kid's just sitting there, just kind of going like,
what the
"Fuck,
Americans are fucked up.
Father, did you know that Americans have poster in bathroom that they put their penis in apparently, and some guy on the other side, clearly not gay,
In air quotes.
yeah, something happens magical, or so I'm told. Once again, air quotes on the magical. Father, why is America so fucked?
The whole of the wham poster, it's in George Michael's mouth. Oh man, that took a very gay turn. And did Old Boy come out today?
No, it came out a while ago.
Oh, it did. Mm-hmm. I almost saw that today. I almost did, but
I know there's two movies. Well, it's like I've already seen Old Boy as in like the original version, so I don't have that big drive. It's kind of like, oh, it's the Americanized. It's cool. It's Spike Lee. If it probably
Josh Brolin.
Yeah, if it probably wasn't Spike Lee, I probably would be like, well, I've seen the original one. Why would I want to go ruin that by seeing the American one? But Spike Lee kind of gives it some credit. Josh Brolin too, but I think that the director is what gives credit to a remake type movie.
Well, I always thought Spike Lee was a really awesome director. So I'm
And then there's also not Homeland. What's it called?
Homefront.
Homefront, yeah, with Jason Statham, written by Stallone. That's the one I'm looking a little bit more forward to seeing, and I think it's because Stallone wrote it. That's really that's the selling point to me.
Yeah, I'm curious about that one. Just with James Franco playing like a methed out hillbilly too. Curious about that.
Yeah, and
Methed out hillbillies are kind of coming back in some big bad way. I
Yeah,
noticed
so
for a
about
while.
that.
For a while, like hillbillies weren't the bad guy, but now they're kind of coming back. Maybe it's because Breaking Bad was big or whatever. Even though Walter White's not the bad guy, but
and there's
still.
no hillbillies in that show, but
You get a few ish kind of hillbillies there, I think.
I guess not. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
Because they're not really in the hills, I guess too.
I guess not just thinking. I'm just thinking tweakers in general. Maybe not the hills, but yeah.
Well,
just
hillbilly
tweakers in
and
general.
tweaker are completely different.
They can't.
They can be
they're in the
combined
same,
together, but
They're in the same family. They're in the same family, but not exactly.
well, hillbilly could be.
Like,
I would say they're in the same
we're not
family.
talking about the good old. We're not talking about the good old fashioned banjo hill.
Like take care of the mountain hillbilly.
Yeah. We're not talking about the good old fashioned hillbilly with a stand up banjo and like a washboard and like a blunderbuss. We're talking about like modern day
Like Walden
hillbilly.
or something like that.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Kind of in the same family, you know. It's kind of like comparing, like a black bear to a polar bear.
Yeah. I guess.
So yeah, I don't know. You can almost have like they're almost kind of running out of shows now because now they also have like the whatchamacallit, like they have like History Channel, for instance, like they now have a show like called Gangland, which is like the history of this different like gang.
Well, that's been on TV for like years.
Well, it's been
That's not new whatsoever.
Well, it's been I think for like 6 years or something. Now I think the next step from that is like a Nature Channel show for like druggies or for tweakers.
Oh yeah. Well, it's kind of sad.
Snuffles runs down the street.
There's
to get his-
all these channels.
skull.
There's all these learning channels, and there's all these shows on them that are not learning whatsoever.
like Honey Boo Boo or whatever on like the Learning Channel or whatever bullshit.
Is that really on that channel?
I believe it's on there.
Okay.
Or TLC or whatever.
That's the Learning Channel, I think. I don't know, but there's just all those shows on there that's just kind of like, either they're just watching people work shows, which seems always fucking weird. Because I notice everybody who watches I like to watch shows where people are working, or people that don't work themselves. Mm-hmm. That's what those people always seem to really love those shows. Where everybody at work's like, why the fuck would I want to watch people work? I've been doing this all day long.
You watch the commercials for those shows, and they'll do like the 300 slow motion of like, say like some fishing show. They pull like the fucking crab in a slow motion with like you know, and they're just like you know, in slow motion, like the boat coming out of a storm.
Yeah.
Eventually they're gonna run a show. They're gonna have one like janitors. In that same commercial, like the guy's pulling the mop out of the toilet. It's slow motion. No. It's like the 360 view.
I know, it's just one of those points where it's just like
McDonald's, the guy's flipping like a burger. No. Slow motion. Try to make it look as epic as possible.
I don't know. I think that's what always kind of kills TV, because I see stuff on there like that and go like, I'm so glad I don't watch TV. Mm-hmm. Thank Christ I don't watch TV.
Yeah.
Makes me sad, really. Because I remember like when History used to be a really sweet channel where like no matter what, you turned on 24/7 History.
Yeah.
There was also other great times too, like G4. Of about all of 6 months, you turn it on and there's 24/7 gaming.
Yeah. Well, for a while you could see like G4, they're just trying to like run the same show. Just how many times can we repackage it? Like we gotta like compete against each other. How many different ways and different like hosts can we have do that? I noticed for a while.
You know what must have killed G4?
That's better than what it was in the end.
Killed G4 though was people starting their own like internet shows and people going like, you know what? I like these guys. Their internet show may be cheaper, but I like these guys' opinions much more than the people on G4.
I think that's a good point, because by the time when G4 was on its way out, YouTube was on its way in. So you could have people doing all that shit on G4.
What year did G4 come out? Like the real G4, not like the G4 that is... The one it is today is not really G4 because it got sold off.
I want to say it was my freshman year of high school.
Or G4 doesn't exist anymore too, I think, right?
No, it's now owned by, I believe, like some fashion company.
Yeah, it changed hands.
No, what happened... Here's a sad thing, though, because the way I found out...
What was the year G4 came out, though? I remember it was in high school... Mm-hmm. I want to say somewhere in the middle of high school, like 2004 maybe?
For me, I want to say it came out in, because I didn't see it for a while, but I want to say original G4 happened in 2002 maybe, or maybe 2003.
Yeah, I'm going to say probably, at least 2003. I want to say it was a little bit farther in.
I want to say 2002 or 2003.
Somewhere in that ballpark. And I just remember that, like, because I didn't get it, because it was a cable-only channel. They didn't have it on satellite. And you would go over to your friend's house, and it was just the most mind-blowing thing. You're like, fuck. There's games on TV, because there is almost nothing. The one that I remember beforehand was like the first time I discovered tech TVs. With
X-Play.
X-Play was one of those ones that was like, oh my god. And there was another one on the Game Show Network they would play. They had there was a video game show too. I don't remember what that was called.
Like, oh my god, this is much better than Nickelodeon Arcade.
Oh yeah, there's like Nick Arcade too, but that's a little bit different because that's more like a game show.
Yeah, but it was just like, it was one of those things when you're a kid, like, anything that you felt like legitimized video games, you loved it all of a sudden. You know what I mean?
And X-Play being probably like, that was like the one you kind of like, you're like, fuck, it's like, don't get me wrong, X-Play's probably just as good, if better than most of the original G4 shows. But it was one of the ones like, I get one fucking show like a week. And there's this channel that people of cable have that plays video game stuff 24/7. And there was really only when that show first came out, there was about 10 shows, and they just repeated. Mm-hmm. They must have just spent like a couple of years recording all these episodes, and they just said like, okay, syndicate that shit.
Yeah. No, they...
and then there was a couple shows that played new stuff.
Eventually, because they kept on condensing the aspect of the video game show, of the video game area. Because then they brought in Tech TV,
well, what happened is like there was that good 6 months of like when G4 was fucking amazing. And then they did the thing too, it's like, well, Tech TV and G4 are going to converge together. And at first I was like, oh, fuck, that means I get it on satellite. I'm so fucking excited. And then they dropped about half the G4 shows, and it still wasn't that bad. It was like, well, whatever. We get, we're getting a good amount of
video they dropped Portal.
Yeah, they dropped about half the G4 shows and about half the Tech TV shows. There's really that point where it's just like, I wonder what it's like in the office. Like, well, we're converging, but your show doesn't stand up to the qualifications.
For some reason, Yosemite Sam is behind the desk.
Let me tell you here.
Work out. Or some Southern plantation owner.
Yeah.
But I remember what it was kind of little by little, and then they started like, well, let's have some syndication shows, and we'll bring Fastlane on the Tech TV.
That was much later still, though. That wasn't right at the beginning. Still.
It wasn't right at the beginning, but that seemed like the downfall. After Tech TV, then they kind of brought in like other shows, and they brought in like reruns of the Man Show.
Well, that's when Tech TV, or technically G4, the Tech TV name went away really quickly.
And like by that point, it was like half video games, half other stuff.
And half like shit, just like shows that like there's a reason why we forgot about this.
All right, 50% video games, 25% tech, 25% whatever you could find.
Well, I would even say 25% tech because there was only one. The Attack of the Show was the only one. There used to be called the Screensavers.
And that was a good show.
That was the only Tech TV show left over.
And that was a good show. I really did enjoy Attack of the Show. And then though they eventually they started like they kind of bottled everything video game, or like certain video game shows that were originally strictly video game. Like I remember there's the one they have a little documentary.
There's the Icons.
Which
is probably the best show. I have all of them on there.
They take a different franchise or video game creator or something, but then they said, you know, why don't we do other people and other things?
Why don't we do celebrities?
Which which I was happy to see Kevin Smith one, but then they started going off and doing other stuff. And by that point in Karen, there was that show Filter, where I guess they ran out of things to cover on Filter, so they just went things in general on Filter, rather than just video games. And then, by that point, they just kind of took everything video game related and dropped it on X-Play. So they had kind of like, here's the countdown, here's the video game news on X-Play, here's the countdown thing on X-Play, here's the cheat code show on X-Play.
Yeah.
And it was just like a little segment in between like reviews.
And I think that really what it all led to is they just kept dropping show after show after show. And I think what happened is, I really think that the YouTube shows picked up because people are like, you know what, fuck those guys on there. I hate their opinions. They're always assholes. They seem to hate every game. And then you go like, but this guy, I like this guy on YouTube. He talks about classic video games or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's where I think it went.
I mean, in some aspects, I mean, no offense to G4 Tech TV, whatever, but there's some things that's kind of like, well, duh, how long could that show last? Remember there was Cineflix, and what it was generally, it would just take like trailers and cutscenes from online, just post them all in a row, and it would just be like, some of it was like weird, hard to find shit, but after a while, like even that would kind of lose its charm after a while.
Well, I think because I think at the time period, it was still at that point where not everybody had internet.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what kind of like made those shows work, because it's like, oh fuck, I get to see video game trailers online
but
or on TV.
Even as somebody who didn't have internet at that point, it's still, like, internet's hard to get up here, it still kind of lost its charm by that point, I thought. Like Cineplex did. Not all the shows.
I guess, but the upside of that show is you'd get to see
you
get to see the new trailers of games coming out, and that was the kind of like, it was literally like music videos. You would sit around so you could watch that one music video you wanted to see, and you'd wait through all the crap.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's too bad that they had to like, the video game channel. It's weird how video games are, because video games are that one thing that like, you know, there's no really video game magazines left. There's no real video game TV left. It's just really like it's all on the internet.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where the audience went. And
I think with video games, people rather hear, and I think this goes with a lot of things nowadays, they rather hear from the common man than some guy who's like, I'm a professional raider. You know, I think people kind of go like, no, fuck you. I want to hear it from the regular people.
Yeah.
It's like Amazon.com. I feel like I'd rather read the reviews on Amazon than anybody else, because that's who I trust those people way more than I trust any actual reviewer.
I was looking on Amazon, and I guess some people they're trying to get some practice in there. But I was looking on Amazon, I was reading some reviews. I was considering about buying Savage Hawkman, Volume 1. And I might get it later, I don't know. But it got kind of mediocre reviews on Amazon.
The reviews will also talk you out of some things at points, too.
Yeah, but that being said, though, even though it did kind of... Some of the people in the reviews, they feel like they take themselves way too seriously. You think you could sum it up in a couple sentences. There's people that go on for pages of like, this leaves much to be desired, and, you know...
Well, the one thing I will say, I'm grateful for all these people that, even though they write, like, 4 or 5 paragraph long things, but sometimes some people, like, that review, though, is what really helps me in, like, figuring out this is the DVD set I want, or it's this other one. Because a lot of the people go, like, let me break down all the discs for you now. Because sometimes you need that, because Amazon doesn't fucking do that for you, so it's good that there's somebody else out there does that.
Yeah.
But still, everyone's like, Jesus
There's
Christ.
some people, they just seem like that's, like, almost they're getting paid for it or something.
I know, it's just like, yeah.
Like, Marvel paid him, like, go talk shit on that Savage Hawkman book. We'll pay you to do it.
Yeah.
Use some very fancy literature, too.
Well, mostly, though, it's like, if you see that, like, because, like, unlike other things in life where you kind of go, like, well, Leonard Maltin gave it a bad review. That doesn't mean the movie can't be amazing, though.
Yeah.
Sometimes on Amazon, though, if you realize that, like, pretty much everybody is giving it, like, a low score, it must actually not be that good. Where a lot of times on Amazon, too, you can take something where people, like, it's something that they don't necessarily care for, but there's people that defend the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
Like, you can go on there, like, and type in something like Batman and Robin. There is just as many 5 out of 5 stars on there as there is people that don't like it, though. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of good for the fact that you can really look in there and go, like, okay, this gives me a good look that I can see that there's people that don't like it, but there's also people that like the fuck out of it.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's of a lot of things, too, which kind of helps out. But the second, though, you start seeing, like, boy, if this thing got 1 star and everybody seems to hate it, that must be a really bad.
And when they're all mediocre, it's one of those things like, I don't know. But then I guess you also could take into account of how many people actually read the originals and what they think of this new take at the same time.
Yeah, you get that. But I feel mostly if you look at about 10 reviews on Amazon, you've hit everybody, from the person who's this is their first time reading, to the person who's read every one, to the person who's like, I'm a partial fan, or I know it from the Justice League. I feel like you get this good mix.
Yeah.
And that really can sum it up. So Amazon reviews, the make or break.
No, I want to go back to actually like G4 for a second.
Uh-huh.
I think another thing that may have killed it was, well, actually, first off, before I go on that, I want to say I listen to Nerdist every so often, and it was kind of sad because you hear about, I think it was it GQ? Is that a fashion company or something, or?
I don't know fashion.
GQ. There's some kind of fashion company or fashion magazine that ended up buying G4 and fired everybody. But at the last minute, like, you know what? We don't need this anyway, and they just sold it to somebody else.
Wow.
Like Matt Merritt, like they're saying, like, because like apparently some people from like they were actually bought him out, because like I guess a lot of the people on Nerdist were actually on Attack of the Show, and they said like Matt Merritt said, yeah, they came in like, hey, we're gonna be recording the show tonight. You guys can come if you want. Like, yeah, you guys are stealing our jobs and giving us the boot.
Yeah, fuck you.
Yeah, so.
Well, it's weird because I see Adam Sessler on like Twitter and whatnot. And he's kind of like, what does he do now? He apparently has some online show of video games. But kind of reminds like one's like, hey guys, still here.
I think he's
Don't forget about me.
I think he's still here in the sense. I think he has like probably a big online. I know he's one of the main probably video game reviewers out there.
Yeah, well, because like he probably still has enough people that will remember him for a while.
I still remember him, so yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, like, yeah. So I don't think people are like totally forget about him. I mean, like, there's 2 types of remembering. There's like, oh yeah, I remember that guy. Or there's like, yeah, I check that guy's like blog every day. There's 2 types of remembering.
I think he's probably on
the one where it's like, oh yeah, that guy. That doesn't really help anybody.
I don't know if I don't think it was IGN.
What did he do again?
It was some IGN like channel, and he was a video review for BioShock Infinite. So
yeah, so I notice he still has some kind of video thing going on, and
which good for him. I don't know what Morgan Webb is doing.
Well, I see she's on there too, and she has something else too. But it's kind of like they're at that point where it's like, it's almost like they broke up. They're on separate shows. What happened?
It's like, well, no, it's not that we broke up. It's just you broke up. It didn't work out.
We hate you. What about the kids? What kids? Us.
We get a beer once in a while together if we're in town. Like, that's not the same thing.
That's you get back together now and make us a family again. You're the reason G4 is gone.
Just all this pressure put onto them just by angry fans. They had this image of them just living together like a happy family. So there's actually... I
remember originally with X-Play, though, it was just Adam Sessler was on. There wasn't a Morgan Webb at first.
And he actually was on
when
a
you think about that, just sounds kind of like, hey, I'm here.
Let's throw a hot brunette on there. Let's get some people in here. No, but I remember there's also, I'm not being one of those people, because I know a lot of times women who are into like video games and comics, they get a lot of shit like, you're not a real fan, you're just a trendy, and that could be a lot of bullshit.
Which sometimes they are actresses and sometimes they aren't. Sometimes it's hard to tell.
Which I believe Morgan Webb was someone who really did like video games and that kind of stuff.
She feels legitimate to me.
But someone who actually got a lot of shit, and I think this took some legitimacy. I mean, that being said, I think she still had great chemistry with Kevin Carolla, but I think she lost some legitimacy to Attack of the Show and their audience was Olivia Munn, because apparently in her book, I mean, I didn't read the book, and I'm just going on, I'm paraphrasing what from other people said, and like this caused a lot of controversy. She said that she gets irritated whenever she goes to like a convention and like a bunch of like fans like swarm around her. Like, I'm tired of being surrounded by a bunch of like sweaty guys, a bunch of guys in sweats dressed like Klingons, and he's talking about this, he's talking about that, which is one of those things like, I don't know if that's the case.
She sounds like one of those, she to me always felt kind of fake though. Like, she sounded like an actress. Like, whenever I'd see her in the show she was on, it's like, she feels like, I want to get a job on the Today Show, but fuck, this is what I got. Mm-hmm. Whatever, the pay's fine.
Yeah, which the thing is, like, I don't I didn't read her book, so I don't know, but that's just what I heard from like several podcasts talking about that. And it was just kind of like a fuck you, because she was kind of like this big kind of like geek girl icon, and then just saying, I'm not that much into it. So that pissed a lot of people off.
Well, that makes sense too, though. 'Cause it's one of those ones, like, there's nothing worse than realizing that you just got an actor standing there, and it's like, what the fuck?
Which I think sometimes people like jump the gun. Like the girl who, Aisha Taylor, the chick who plays Lana in Archer.
Oh,
she's
okay,
like she's apparently a big time gamer and a huge fan, and she was on like a podcast. I think she was on Nerdist a little bit ago, and she was talking about how much shit she gets when she whenever she hosts like a video game awards show, or whenever she's like does a blog, people attack
Well,
her.
I think that there's always gonna be that one thing, and this happens with like anything that's kind of like a man domain.
Yeah.
Because when you really think about video games, there's like those. If there's the 5 main man things out there, it's automobiles, video games,
the gym,
the
mountains,
like outdoor activities, and you could even say anything else that involves like Orchard Supply or Lowe's, like
and man, and video games.
Well,
I know what you mean.
It sounds weird, but those are all like man domains when it really gets down to it. They're not saying that women can't build a house. I'm not saying women can't fix a car or build a car or go outdoors or any of this stuff. It's just there's just that thing. It's like there's way more men doing it than there is anybody else, and it's kind of been like that for many of years. And that's sort of how video games are too. It's a very male thing, and they always say it's more male thing anyways because it's filled with just competition.
So the second they see a girl like doing good at it, they get a little like intimidated.
Well, yeah, it's kind of perfect. Or what's another one too is sports in a sense. That's the other kind of big male thing too, because there is female teams, but we don't see them on fucking Thanksgiving now, do we?
Or there is some of the stuff there's also the stuff, the female sports we don't see guys do very often. Like, you don't really see a bunch of people going around like, let's watch the male competition of volleyball.
Yeah,
you don't see that too often.
Well, there is those kind of like hidden like ones. But I mean, like when it gets down to what's the biggest sports?
Football, soccer, baseball,
golf, hockey.
Basketball, thank you.
And what are and who all play in those? Men, And that's sort of how video games are too. It's that same. It's that one thing. It feels weird to combine it with like, cars, sports, and construction. But when it gets down to it, it's all part of that same kind of like male dominance. You could almost even say it sounds weird too, but like.
So all that stuff, I'll say this. I'm not saying that like as a video gamer, I'm not saying you got to be a fucking like. You got to be like a fucking manly man or nothing, but I think that's the one thing though of all those male things you can get away with being a pudgy little. Hey guys, come on, that's my base. Give me some backup, you fucking noob. That's the one thing.
Yeah, that's the one thing you don't.
That's
get,
the one.
You don't get that like a construction. Like, hey man, give me the fucking nail gun, you fuck. Yeah. Like, who invited that fat fuck over here? He can't even carry concrete up 2 flights of stairs.
Yeah, that's the one domain those guys have. So I guess maybe they're extra defensive about it. I don't know.
So I think, it's one of those ones, like, when people stand there, it's the same thing, too, like, whenever you see somebody go in AutoZone, they see a chick there, and you just see these guys that are sweaty and greasy just chew the fuck out of a woman because, she's there, standing there selling him auto parts.
Yeah, which that kind of thing's like, dude, get the fuck over it.
Well, there's that kind of, I mean, I can understand that it's like, if the chick doesn't know what she's talking about, I can see where a guy can get that defensive thing, like, fucking Frank here, who worked here for 40 years, he knew every auto part now, so what do you gotta say?
Well, I can understand that, but I think sometimes people jump that. I mean, I'm just talking about things like that in general. I think there's some things that people.
Well, what I mean is like, if it's like, one thing I can't stand though is when they put a woman up there for whatever it is, whether it be an auto parts store, whether it be a video game company store, anything like that, and they're just there as a figurehead. I hate when they do that, and you could smell it and you could see it, and you're like, they are not real. They are an actress. They are just there.
That could be annoying, and I see what you're saying there, but I think sometimes certain guys jump the gun and just assume, because she's got a vagina and boobs, that she doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about, which that's not always the case.
No, it's not always the case, too, but there is that chance, and I think that's the one thing that there is.
Yeah.
Where generally it's like, very rarely do you ever get the guy that gets the job at one of these places and has absolutely no idea what he's doing.
Sometimes, no, you get that. You get the guy who gets the job, doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. I can think of like a few guys in the movie theater that are like that. And
at the movie theater, that's like, I feel like most of the guys, excluding a couple of them, kind of are like that.
And then like I can even think stuff at like GameStop. I can think of some guys that are like, not all of them, but like 1 or 2 guys.
There's always those kind of people. It's just like they're like, how'd you get this job? Well, I like Call of Duty and Madden. You're like, that's it? It's It's like, play a real video game. I'm sorry. Don't get me wrong. Those games are well made and stuff like that. But if that's the only 2 video games you play, you're not a gamer.
Yeah, that almost seems...
You got to have a wide range.
It's kind of like your day pass game, sort of.
Yeah, it's like those ones. Yeah, that's the one where the guy who's been pouring concrete all day can come home and play and doesn't feel like, I don't feel like I'm a nerd. I'm killing stuff.
That being said, Madden can be kind of like, I mean, for me personally, because I'm not really that good at that stuff, that can be kind of confusing sometimes, but it's weird because that game will take sometimes that game could take so much more, like, effort and work into playing a regular game, but those guys won't play a regular game.
Oh, those games are actually more complicated.
Because you got to do the trading, you got to pick your stats, you got to, like, be careful how much you use this player, and, like, it's that level of, like, you got to know your fucking football.
It's got this slight RPG element there that's kind of, like, hidden.
But something like, an actual RPG or, like, an action-based game, aside from Call of Duty, is like, no, that's too much for me, man.
Yeah, I'm not playing no fucking Zelda shit.
Yeah.
It's weird how that is. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Scares me sometimes.
Day and age we live in, yep.
But yeah. Well, feels like a good place to wrap that up. Well, make sure you go out and check out Drunk Batman and Robin Animated, Episode 8 on Newgrounds, YouTube, and Vimeo. You can also check out all that fun stuff at oldmanorange.com. Send us an email at oldmanorangepodcast@yahoo.com.
We'll read it on the air.
Till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And we will see you some other time.